Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining this webinar today. My name is jBK Faborade, and I'm the Cheapening Program Officer at the British High Commission. So for those who are just joining, please, I can see some of you have been waiting. Please drop your comments or your questions on the chat box. And yes, I can see Awo Sonia, Shade. Thank you very much for joining. I can see Paula. Yes, we're starting now. So tell your friends who are yet to join to come on board as well. So I'll be taking questions as I go through the webinar. So please drop your questions and I'll take some time to answer them as well. Great. So Cheapening scholarships, what are Cheapening scholarships, or what is the Cheapening Award all about? So the Cheapening Award is the UK government's flagship global scholarship program, and it's given in over 144 countries and territories across the world. It's targeted at persons who have leadership potential, who we think would rise to positions of leadership in their respective fields. It's for fully funded awards to study for a master's degree in the UK. This is a very important year for Cheapening. We're celebrating 35 years of investing in excellence in Nigeria and across the world as well. So you've come in at the right time, and I hope that you do put in the best application that you can to make it into the Cheapening program. So thank you very much. I can see David is here, Maimunat, Kolade. Thank you very much for joining. As I go along, please feel free to drop your questions. I will take them one after the other, as much as the time slot allows for us to do this. So what does Cheapening aim to do? A lot of times I ask applicants, what do you understand the Cheapening program to be all about? So Cheapening is aimed at investing in leaders who will in turn transform their communities or their countries, but more importantly for the UK government, to maintain lasting relationships with those individuals going forward. So I was Sonia, Shadi, I can see your question, but just again, I will definitely respond to that in due time. So there are 50,000 alumni of Cheapening across the world. How huge is that? And for Nigeria, for example, we have over 1,000 of them, and they've actually gone on to rise to different, leadership positions in their respective disciplines. So if you're looking at what the Cheapening program actually looks to identify, we're looking to identify leaders, and you should definitely elaborate on that in your application. So the Cheapening scholarship process. Cheapening actually offers not just scholarships, it offers fellowships as well. But for this webinar, I will be focusing on just scholarships. So what does our scholarship cover? It is fully funded, and that means that it covers full tuition for awardees. Although you have to note that for the MBA program, we would only fund up to £18,000 for the tuition. So if you're looking to study for an MBA program, do keep this in mind. For all other courses across any discipline, we will fund it fully. It covers a monthly living expense for all, for just the awardee. So a lot of people ask me, can I go to the UK to do my master's program with my family? While we do not support dependents, we encourage people with young families to travel and see what support they can get from the universities. Cheapening also covers an economy return trip to and from the UK. And please note that you must plan to return to your country following the program. So aside the economy return flight, it also covers essential grants to cover expenditure that relates to travel within the UK for Cheapening programs or any other conferences or debates that may come up. So like I said earlier, we're looking to invest in people. So it goes beyond the master's program. The master's program is just one element of your Cheapening experience. There'll be lots of exclusive Cheapening programming as well. to ensure that your experience is a total package. So what are the eligibility criteria for Cheapening? Excuse me. I can see a lot of questions already. Ifeoluwa Barada, thank you very much. Samuel, thank you from Kenya. Haruna, I can see your message as well. So just hang in there. I would answer the questions as much as I can. So what are the eligibility criteria? One, you must be a citizen of a Cheapening eligible country. So most countries in Africa are eligible for Cheapening, but to note that Cheapening funds Africans to study in the UK. But if you own if you actually have like a dual citizenship, that is your country of residence in Africa and the UK, then you are not eligible for Cheapening. So please look out for this. If one of your if you hold citizenship for the UK, whether dual as a dual national or even you're just a UK citizen, please note that you will not be able to. You're not eligible to apply for the Cheapening program. You should already have an undergraduate degree. So to answer some of your questions about people from people who asked if you have a 2-2 degree, that's a second class lower, or we're looking at particular grades. The thing is, Cheapening wants to invest in people who are academically sound and have the right leadership potential. So it's a balance of your experiences and your academic qualifications. So I encourage people who actually have lower grades or who finish from the university with lower grades to also apply, as long as you think that your leadership experiences or your professional experiences can kind of make your application a bit more suitable for the program. So that's one thing to note. So the requirement has been tweaked a bit to say that if you can, as long as you can get an admission into UK university, as long as your qualification is sufficient enough for you to get admission into a UK university, then you can apply. You should also not have previously received funding from the UK government to study in the UK. So for example, people who have gone on the Commonwealth Scholarship before, you cannot apply for Cheapening. But please feel free to look further at the eligibility requirements on the website, and that gives you a full picture. You can go on the website, cheapening.org. I'm sure we'll be sending across some document that shows the relevant links that you can go to if you've not started your application already. On timelines and the process. So as some of you may already be aware, application ends in exactly 2 weeks, actually. So on the 6th of November, Cheapening applications will close at exactly 12 GMT, 12 noon. So please do not wait till last minute. Turn in your applications as soon as you can. And for those who are still thinking, somebody asked me, is it too late for them to start the applications now? Please, yes, you're quite late, but I won't say you're too late, because if you already have the right experiences, it's so easy for you to begin to write those applications. At least finish drafting in 1 week and then take the second week to kind of read through, get another pair of eyes, and then submit. So still try. To answer Alice's question from Nairobi, you asked what the standard time to turn in like a good application is. I would say 4 weeks. But for those who are just starting now, do not let that deter you. Still try as much as possible to see how you can put in your application. So additional requirements. Obviously, this is a program that tries to fund you to your postgraduate degree in the UK. So definitely you need to have a UK admission, UK university admission. So these additional requirements come in next year. So by the 11th of June in 2019, you should be able to provide your at least one offer from 3 of the choices, university choices that you made. And you should also be able to provide your English language test results. Before June, you should be looking to submit your references. I can see somebody, Joshua Owino, asked, when writing referees, must you have work and academic referees? Can you do both for work or both for academic. Okay, so on referees, you must submit your references by the 25th of February 2019. And your references can either come from a professional colleague or a professor, as long as it's a bit different this year. So this year, we're actually requesting directly from the referees. Once you give us the details, they would receive an automatic notification from us to submit their references. So be sure to alert them on time so that they can put in the best words for you. And to see what kind of information that your referees need to put, make sure it's someone that knows you properly, somebody who can vouch for your capabilities, the things they were looking to identify on the program. So your leadership, your networking, your drive, and your vision to actually change the world around you. So those are the things that you want your referee to kind of highlight in their letters. So when filling the application form, you want to obviously enter your personal and education or professional details as clearly and as coincides as possible, but make sure that you go through them properly so you don't have any errors, because once you submit, then it's very difficult for you to edit. I can see Hamad Adeniji asking a question. I can see Nafisa Adama. I will definitely come back to your questions as soon as I get to the relevant part of the webinar that addresses your question. So for work experience, when you're calculating your work experience, I saw a question from someone, I cannot remember his name now. He said that he didn't make it last year because he didn't calculate his work experiences the best way possible. So work experiences are calculated based on the minimum requirements. You must have worked at least 2 years, and that equates to about 2,700 hours per year. So for instance, if you're going to calculate your work experience, you want to calculate the average number of hours you worked in a week times the number of weeks multiplied by the number of weeks that you have in a particular year. For Cheapening, on the average, we think that the average number of weeks in a year is 40. So if you say you worked 40 hours for a particular year for full-time work, that would be 40 times 40 again. So that's a way for you to understand what number of hours you worked per year of your experiences. And just to answer some people who have asked also about what kind of experiences work, it could be full-time, it could be part-time, volunteer experiences, it could be internships as well. But you know that for you to calculate the number of hours from internships or volunteer work, you probably would have worked for a longer period of time. So just try to calculate the number of hours you work for each experience and add them up together to come to a total of the at least minimum of 2,700 required by Cheapening. So I'll be going to the application essays and interviews. Before I go there, I would answer a question I just saw about the work experience. Just a minute. Yes, so Mosien, I hope I pronounced your question correctly, asked, I will complete my studies this year, but I have been working for 5 years. I graduate in March 2019. Am I still able to apply? So yes, work experience-wise, you're eligible, but at the same time, if you do not graduate, if you're graduating in 2019, you cannot apply this year because you don't have a certificate or a graduate degree for you to actually be able to access the opportunity. So I advise you to wait till next year rather, before you apply again. So on application essays, a lot of people have been asking, Hamad asks, hi JBK, can you advise on what you look out for in the essays? So stay tuned, this section is definitely for you. So the first question that you want to answer is, why should the UK invest in me? And what will be the return on investment in investing in you? So for instance, the average cost of a scholarship is £30,000. Why should they choose you? And what will you do? How will you reflect that on other people? So that's what I'll be discussing in this segment. And the first thing to understand is Cheapening welcomes applications from every sector, from every field, from every walk of life. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're a career person, whatever discipline it is that you find yourself, Cheapening wants to see your application. However, Cheapening is administered in country by the relevant embassies or high commissions. So you want to understand what the areas of interest or the priorities of the UK in that country is. So for instance, Nigeria has priority areas like security, prosperity, good governance, science and innovation, and energy and power generation. And that just reflects the different kind of works that the UK is currently doing in Nigeria through the number of different departments that it has existing in Nigeria. So you want to understand what some of those priority areas are. So that one thing you can do is to align your application, your experiences, your career aspirations, and your future plans to align them with these priorities so that the UK can see that, yes, this is a long-term investment. This is somebody that we want to keep engaging with over and over again. And this is somebody that can probably help us in the future to deliver some of our work in Nigeria or in your country. So you may want to look at the social media pages of the UK in your country. For Nigeria, we have UK in Nigeria. For Kenya, you have UK in Kenya. For South Africa, you have UK in South Africa. So check them out on Twitter and Facebook most times to find out what the priority areas for these different countries are. Structures for your essays and your interviews. So the essays and the interviews probably take almost the same kind of format. They're both trying to test how well you fit the competencies that they're looking for in the ideal Cheapening scholar. So from your application, you probably see that there are 4 different segments that you have to provide answers to. One is your leadership, networking. You have the other one on career development, and the last one on studying in the UK. So these 4 different sections are the same things that will be tested in the interviews. So to answer Cyril from Cameroon's question, the 4 topics that you've been asked about in your application are the same 4 themes that you'll be actually asked about during the interview as well. But they're going to take different shapes. The way they're going to ask the questions are going to be probably different. But you should apply the same kind of structure to both of them. So this brings me to explain what the competency framework for answering these things are, these sort of questions are. For those of you who have probably heard me talk before, I always talk about the STAR approach to competency style questions. And from your essays, you see that the leadership question probably asks you to describe what does leadership mean to you. Tell us about a time when you actually showed that you were a leader in your field or something along those lines. It always tries to ask you about your experience. So competency framework tries to understand what you'll probably be able to do in the future based on the things that you've done before. So even if they don't ask you directly, always try to tell a story. Put in a story about what you've done to actually highlight some of those things they're asking you about. So it's simple. The STAR approach is an acronym. So S stands for the situation. You want to explain what the situation was and just a background information. It should be short and concise. You want to evaluate and reflect and identify your skills and experiences that match or align with the question being asked. So please do note this. The T stands for the task. So following the situation that you described, what did you have to do? Did you take the initiative to figure out that you needed to change something? Did somebody, your superior, tell you that you needed to do something? Did you see a particular challenge in the community that you were looking to fix? These are things that you want to talk about in the task. And again, this should be quite concise and straight to the point. Front load the most important things first. There's no point beating around the bush and wasting time before you get to the important stuff, because the thing is, you miss the assessors because they're assessing lots of applications globally, and you want to be able to get their attention from the onset. So try not to tell a lot of unnecessary stories if they're not trying to tell, if they're not leading to you actually telling like a full picture of what you're trying to describe. So don't overemphasize on this is what I think this should be. Tell it with a story. Let them understand you better. So with every question, make sure you're putting a different part of yourself, bringing a different part of yourself to the forefront. Let them understand you better. Let them see what drives you, what your purpose is, what your passion is, and what things that you're currently doing, the things you're currently doing. So the action, the A part stands for action, and this is the biggest part of your answer, really, because this is what we're trying to actually understand the most. What do you do? How did you contribute to the overall delivery of the particular task that I highlighted? How did you do it? What challenges did you face? How did you navigate those challenges? Who did you have to talk to get things done? Basically, the how, what, and why are actually contained in this action, and that should be the bulk of your answer rather. And then the R part stands for the result. So there's no point in you telling a story without giving us what was the eventual result. What did you achieve with the actions you took? How did you influence people, and what did you achieve with your influencing skills? So you want to talk about what change took place, either in quantitative or qualitative terms, and make sure it's quite clear so that people can follow your stories. And emerging the UK interests and the structures for your essays. You want to ensure that you're merging everything that you've learned in your research about what the UK is doing into your essays. So make sure you're talking about how you're meeting some of the things that you found out that the UK is doing, how your experiences are going to help meet it, how your career plan is trying to target these things, how it's trying to change the narrative or bring about change in your field, and just make sure that you do this as clearly as possible. So talk about results in clear quantitative or qualitative terms. If it's the percentage increase in the number of people that subscribe to a particular, for instance, this webinar, I can use in terms of the numbers of people that actually joined. I can see the change in their perceptions in the question. So you can kind of bring in different elements to explain the result and your achievements. And a lot of people try to make mistakes. Somebody asked me, what are the common mistakes? So Toby from South Africa, you asked about the common mistakes. I would say people try to explain what they do by using a lot of we. So my team, we did this. No, we want to understand, what did you as a member of that team do? And how did you help bring about the team's delivery or total delivery of achieving that goal? So you want to explain that and saying, I and my team did this together. Don't say we. Try to limit the use of we in this term. The last thing I'm going to mention about the structures and the way you should look at putting together your essays and your interview answers will be the multiplier effect. So why are we investing in people across Africa and across the world? The UK is investing in people because there are places that the UK cannot reach in your countries. They do not want to seem as if they're interfering in local issues. So they'll rather empower citizens who actually can get to those hard to reach areas. So how will you ensure that you have a multiplier effect in your own self? If you invest £30,000 in somebody, you want to know that in the next, say, 5 years, 10 years, I will be able to realize this and this. Can they tell that by just looking to your essay? That's one question you must ask yourself. And to do this, you want to understand, like I said, the UK interest, structure essays properly, but more importantly, make sure that your career plan is very, very clear. So list what you want to do in the next 5 years, list it to include how and what you're going to do, what challenges you're trying to bridge, how the modules in your courses that you've chosen help to actually bridge those gaps, extra things in the UK that you want to take advantage of while you're on your achievement journey. So extracurricular activities, you want to ensure that you're capturing every single thing. And when I talk about the multiplier effect, I'm talking about how will you cascade what you've learned, the knowledge you've gained, and the experiences to other people that didn't get the same opportunity like you did. So you come back, for instance, and you get to organize, say, a couple of training activities for people to understand what you've learned, different modules, going to different ministries, help them to try to cascade the learning. So these are just examples of things that you might be thinking that, yes, you want to include in your essays. You also want to think about what particular change you're going to bring about in your community. So we want to see how you probably will leverage the Cheapening network. So remember, while you're in the UK, you're exposed to over 1,800 people, Cheapeners across the world. That is no small network to joke with. How do you keep in touch with those people to ensure that you can collaborate going forward to solve issues across the region? How can you also collaborate with the Cheapening community in your country? So every country has a Cheapening local association. In Nigeria, it's called the Cheapening Alumni Association of Nigeria. So look up the Cheapening Association in your country and see what they're doing. See how you can align yourself with what they're doing and what you can probably help them achieve, the gaps that you can currently see from their profile online or whatever things that they're not doing. Ensure that you can actually reflect some of this in your essay. This is how you're going to contribute to advancing this network. This is how you're going to help them achieve their aims. They want to see how you can collaborate. So that's what networking is all about, really. So understand networking. We really want to understand networking. In previous years, I think we've seen that a lot of people struggle the most with understanding what networking actually entails. Networking simply means how do you tap into networks beyond the four corners of the rooms or the facilities where you have access to. So how do you reach out globally? How do you reach out even in Nigeria to places where you cannot reach? How do you bring about change? How do you influence people to bring about change? So it could be through blogs, it could be through social media, it could be through radio, TV, anything in your area, in your area of work. You must be influencing people in certain ways, and you must have a network that you can influence to bring about serious change in your community. So that's what we're trying to see. What will be the multiplier effect of investing in you? So make sure you reflect these in your essays, and I hope that will definitely make it stronger. Please, if you're just joining us, welcome again to the webinar for achieving applications for Nigeria and indeed Africa, because I realized that the SLA community is a community of young women and people who are joining as well who are not part of the community. Across Africa, I can see a lot of our participants are from South Africa, from Kenya, and you name it. So please feel free to drop your comments. I will try to dedicate some time at the tail end of the webinar to answer as many questions as I can. So let's just answer some of the questions for now. Somebody asked if I could. Okay, sorry, Nafisa Adama says, sorry, JBK, my network went off there. What's the acronym again? STAR. So you can go online as well to check these things, but I'll repeat it. So the STAR acronym stands for S, situation, T, task, A, actions, and your R, results. And I forgot to mention this earlier. When you talk about STAR, it's not every single time that your experiences were positive or you actually achieved the results that you intended from the onset. So feel free to talk about your failures, feel free to talk about the things that didn't quite work, but talk about it from the aspect of the lessons you learned and how you're using it to inform other things that you currently do. So new programs, how are you learning experiences from past projects to ensure that the new project actually take off and perform better than what you did previously. So that's just that. So before I continue, I'm just going to quickly answer some questions. So Awosanya Shade says, in writing the career essay, is it bad to start with 1 to 3 years post-study with any UK affiliate in your home country before venturing into other plan? So the career question, we're not saying that you must actually work with the UK government directly, But indirectly, little things that you do in different areas all add up to the big picture. So you're trying to create jobs as a small business owner, you're trying to create jobs, whether as a business consultant, everything all adds up to the prosperity agenda, trying to ensure that the Nigeria is more prosperous, and in turn, UK businesses can come here as well to do business, and then it's shared prosperity for the UK and Nigeria. So make sure you try to link it, and that's why I said it's important for you to do your research, understand what the UK does in Nigeria, understand their programs. You can even see lots of our work on some of our social media pages to understand what we're currently doing, the partners we're working with, how you can link up the work you do or your future plans with what the UK is currently doing or what the UK is intending to do in a couple of years. So look up that one. For those just joining us, my name is jJibike, and I'm the program officer for Cheapening in Nigeria, Chevening Awards in Nigeria. And for the benefit of all our participants from across Africa, I will try to continue to make this webinar as reflective of all the participants as possible. So I will not limit my webinar to Nigeria perspective alone. I will try to bring you all on board. So I'm just looking for another question I can quickly answer. Does it cover? Yes, I've said for MBA, which is more than a year. So Cheapening will only fund taught master's degree programs, and that means they can only last for 1 year. Beyond 1 year, even if it's a research-based master's program, Cheapening cannot fund it. It can only fund 1 year taught master's programs. And the MBA, some MBA programs are taught as well, and they last for 1 year. So you can look up some of those programs. There's a link to where you can actually check what programs are available on the Cheapening program. And please make sure you apply to your universities as well. So Angelista says, so if I went so close 2 times, that means she's applied twice before. And so can she copy and paste the essays that she wrote previously? The answer is, well, it's possible, but I would say that you're not the same person that you were 2 years ago. And the same people, it's not the same people that applied when you applied 2 years ago that are applying this year. The competition is steeper. It's getting a lot more competitive every year. So you want to make sure that you're transforming your essays as much as you can. Edit your essays, put in new things, make sure you put your best foot forward and try to, put forward the unique person that you are. So I would say don't just recycle your essays. Make sure you edit them and refresh them to reflect the changes that you've gone through over the last 2 years. So close is not getting it. So why didn't you get it the first time if your essays were actually that on point? So make sure you edit it. Hi, Emisi Falade. Lynn says she's also watching from Kenya. So thank you. Watching from Tanzania. That's good. Hi, jJibike. Is it necessary to have Amassed volunteering experiences in order to be considered for a Cheapening scholarship? So like I mentioned earlier, Toyi Agbombiade, Cheapening experiences, work experiences covers professional, full-time, part-time, volunteer work, internships, and it doesn't have to be the only thing. It could be over a period of time as well. So to answer your question, not just volunteering experiences. Joshua Owino says, when writing referees, okay, I think I've answered this before. Lynn says, what would you advise a second-time applicant? One, I would say research properly. Like I said, a lot of people, in fact, the first question you ask people, why do you want to go on Cheapening? They just say, oh, wow, I've been wanting to study for a postgraduate degree since I don't have money, and this is a perfect opportunity. Cheapening is not a charity affair. It's not the kind of scholarship that's looking to award underprivileged or financially underprivileged people. We're looking to invest in leaders, regardless of your social class or your economic class. So basically, you want to put that out there. There's a reason why you're applying to Cheapening, and you must align with the vision of Cheapening, which is what? To invest in people that committed to creating change in their country and across Africa, and that will continue to maintain that relationship or their engagement with the UK in their respective countries. So you want to reflect that throughout your essays. And trust me, if you cite examples of programs that the UK is running in your country, either through DFID, British Council, Department for International Trade, look up over all of these things online, see what the UK is doing in your countries. And once you can name drop some of these things and actually back them up with concrete evidence to show that your work aligns with what the UK is doing or what the UK is interested in. So the bigger picture, prosperity, jobs, security, governance, good governance, anti-corruption initiatives, then you're good to go. So for those who are applying the second time, I think that you probably stand a better chance because you've gone through the process. So it's easy for you to walk through it, especially if you're just applying this late. So Hamad Adeniji, I think that should also have answered your question on what to look for in essays. Sophia Zoe, jBK, how do we know the UK's priority areas in Nigeria? I would say that, you could, again, look through our Facebook and Twitter pages. You can see a lot of the different works that we're doing in Nigeria. And I've mentioned this: security, prosperity, good governance, science and innovation, and energy and power generation. So I think, I think that this would be the same for a lot of other African countries, but you want to check your country pages first before you continue your application. Does Cheapening consider somebody that got a BSc from HND conversion? Like I said, as long as you can prove that your universities would take your academic credentials, then you're good to apply for the Cheapening program. Samuel says, I had a court case that was thrown out by the magistrate. How should I answer the pre-eligibility question about without disadvantaging my application? Well, just put as much information as you can enter online. And these people are humans as well. They will understand what you're trying to say. And I don't think that should really deter you from getting past the application stage. Hello, jBK. So Dale says, hello, jBK. I'm applying for MSc IT because I want to make the career switch from finance to IT based on the work experience I have with software. How do I write a convincing essay? So if you notice that the application process is not really testing, so what do you have in this field or that field, it's testing the competencies. As long as you can demonstrate that you have leadership, you know exactly how to network, you have assessed the different courses and you know exactly why you want to study those things. So for instance, you want to switch to IT. There's a reason you have the work experience. So you can cite some of those things. And in your area of work or in your time of working in the industry, what are the gaps you've noticed? Why are you actually keen on studying this course? So you must put your motivations also to bear so people can understand where you're coming from and why you want to make that career switch. And that will not really be a problem. Also, in your career plan has to actually be very, very clear. So what are you looking to achieve in the next 5 years? In fact, what is that top leadership position in the IT industry that you're looking to rise to? Set that picture, set the steps that you need to get into to get to that phase. If you're looking to start up like a company, tell us exactly what you've done so far, how you intend to go to the next stage, what you need to do. So basically, we understand that you've taught this through properly and that you deserve to be invested in. So Isia Sultan says, can you apply for the same master's programs, but 3 different universities, or does it have to be completely different programs? Oh, yes, please feel free to apply to the same courses. In fact, I advise people to ensure that their university courses are quite linked. So don't say you want to study medicine and the next one you're saying you want to go and study business and you're saying you want to study biomedical engineering. Yes, they're a bit linked, but it can put assessors off because they're not sure exactly where your head is or what exactly you want to do. So make sure you put this properly and check that your courses align, that they have a central theme, and make sure you choose more than one university. It's important so that if one university rejects you, you have access to the other universities as well. So before I continue, I'm just going to quickly go to the do's and don'ts If you're just joining us, please feel free to come to join, drop your comments, and please also check and click on the She Leads Africa link in the comments to visit the page, because I'll be sharing the frequently asked questions for those questions that I will probably not be able to take in this session. Don't forget to join the community as well. So do's and don'ts, don't plagiarize. I've talked about people who are applying a second time. Try as much as possible to rejig your essays. Don't procrastinate. So yeah, just 2 weeks to go. Let every second count. You want to turn in the best version of yourself. You want to ensure that you're passing across the best message. So apply before the deadline. So for instance, yesterday I realized that just 900 Nigerians have turned in the application. And guess what? Over 6,000 applications from Nigeria are still pending on the website. So just imagine what will happen on the final day of the deadline. You don't want to get that error message that your files cannot upload or you cannot submit your essays or something. Don't wait till the last minute. Try to make sure that you submit before the deadline. Again, research what the UK is doing in your country and reflect them in your essays. Proofread. Now, grammar is really important. Make sure you get a second pair of eyes. Make sure that you probably, if as much as possible, type them offline and paste into the boxes, the text boxes for the essays. For interviews, try to plan questions ahead and practice. Rehearse either in front of the mirror or you get a colleague, a trusted friend, to go over your answers and questions with, so that you're sure that you're putting the best part of yourself out. You're hitting the nail on the head, and you're coming across to the person on the other side of the room the best way that you can. So make sure that your career and your post-award plan are clear and very realistic. So don't say you want to become governor in the next 5 years if you haven't even started your political career. It's really important. Be honest, don't exaggerate, and don't sell yourself short either. So we're looking to invest in people who are original, people who are energetic, but don't overplay it. Be very, very natural. Nobody's telling you to come and put in an act at the interviews. It's people like you and I who actually will be assessing you at the interviews and even your applications as well. So make sure you're putting the best version of yourself out there. Read through your essays again, get somebody else to look at them. And yes, Kola, I hope that you make it this year. Just to go through some other questions before I go offline. So I'm trying to see any question that I haven't mentioned, any like that ask a question about stuff I haven't mentioned, just so that I give. So do you have to pay the application fee at various universities? So the Cheapening process is quite it's different from the university application process. So you want to ensure that you're applying to the different universities that you're putting on the Cheapening application, but ensure that it's not important for you to have applied at the point of applying to Cheapening. You can wait till after you finish applying, but make sure you know exactly what universities you want to apply to. And at the interview stage as well, you can always change up these university choices. And if the university requires you to pay an application fee, then that means you'd have to pay it. Is there a word count requirement for the essay? Yes, definitely. There is. The word count for the essay is 500, so a minimum of 100 and a maximum of 500. Now, somebody asked if Cheapening has age restrictions. As long as you have 2 years minimum work experience, we don't have a specific age limit, whether lower or higher. In fact, for the upper age limit, we do not have any age limit for Cheapening. No matter where you are in your career and you think you need something else to push yourself out there to get the right kind of of achievements that you're looking to get in your career, in the development of your community, please apply for a Cheapening Award. And especially for women, we understand that people take time off work to cater to their families. So we're particularly encouraging more women to apply for the Cheapening program. We want to see more African women join the Cheapening program. In Nigeria, for this year, we're trying to raise the bar from 39% representation for women to 50% representation for women. But it can only be by merit. So please turn in the best applications that you can. And if your application is good enough, trust me, Cheapening will give you an opportunity. So Emmanuel Areva says, hello JBK, very resourceful. My course choice is available in some non-Cheapening partner university. Is it advisable to go ahead or it has to be a Cheapening partner university? Oh, please, it doesn't have to be a Cheapening partner university. As long as it's a university in the UK, you'd most likely see it from the drop-down menu on the website. So please do apply nonetheless. Cheapening will fund fully your tuition as long as it's not an MBA program. Kumi says, I am in the media entertainment sector. How do I go about writing the essay? Just follow all of the steps I've mentioned earlier, and you will be able to give the best essay and put the best version of yourself forward. So Tolulope Ogumole says, hi JBK, this session has been really helpful. Thanks. Thank you very much, Tolulope, for joining. Ibi Wari Jaja says, is Cheapening more favorable to long-time practicing professionals? Actually, no. I've seen lots of young people who probably just have the 1 year NYC experience, so the National Youth Service experience, just 1 year outside of the university. And they have amazing things they want to do. They have amazing things they've done while in the university, either through internships or volunteer work. So basically, it's all about the energy. How keen are you to bring about change or development in your country? As long as you can project this the best way you can, that's all you need, really. So Oluyemisi Falade, I'm trying to see your question. I can't. Okay, so thank you, JBK. Your tips have been very enlightening. I hope that I've answered your question some way. Chris 37 says the essay examples must they be about social programs that are organized, or does entrepreneurial strike count? E.g., I started a business and in the course of the engagement, in the course of this, engage freelancers or full-time staff. Yes, if you're, like I said, prosperity is a big theme for us in Nigeria and even across Africa. Shared prosperity for your country and the UK. So if you're creating jobs, by all means, explain this in clear terms, rather. What did you do? How did you do it? How did you influence other people? What's your leadership style like? Basically, that's what you need to project. Good question from Ukwenzi Ngozi. Please, what is the policy on the English waiver? So unfortunately, most African countries do not get a waiver, except you have previously studied in the UK or in any other European country and the US and Australia. So there's a full list of countries that are eligible for the waiver. And Nigeria or any other African country is not really part of this. I'm not sure if South Africa is, but please check properly. You'd have to write your English language test results, and it could be the IELTS, TOEFL, anyone. You can go on the Cheapening website to see the different cutoff points for Cheapening. So please make sure you also check the criteria for Cheapening and the criteria for your university. Some of them might be different, so please ensure that you're meeting both of them at the same time. Well done, JBK. I like what you're doing. Does a person have to get an admission into a UK university before applying for Cheapening scholarship? No. You can submit your application, but make sure you put in the universities that you're looking to apply to into the Cheapening application website before the deadline. And then you can face your university application squarely and chase up for that. I think I have answered most of the questions. So please feel free to check the She Leads Africa page. Please click on the link in the comment section and check for more information that I will be sharing with you. Again, my name is jJibike Fabrodi, and I hope you found this session as useful as possible. Thank you very much for joining, and I look forward to receiving a lot of applications from Nigerians, and I'm sure that my colleagues across Africa are also looking forward to receiving your applications for your respective countries. So good luck and all the best. Thank you.